You're listening to Navigating Eldercare, where you'll find guidance and answers for every step of the eldercare journey. Each week, eldercare advocate Laura Daniels brings you expert insights and practical solutions to help families and professionals make confident care decisions.
Hello, my name is Laura Daniels, founder of Care Advocates and your host for Navigating Elder Care. For years, I have been helping families and medical providers, doctors, case managers, social workers, and nurses find the right solution for seniors in transition, whether that is after a hospital stay, a rehabilitation stay, or when care needs at home have changed. We assist in finding the right care options. I started this work because I saw how overwhelming and confusing the elder care process can be, and I wanted to be a guide and a resource for families and professionals. Each week on Navigating Elder Care, we tackle the real questions and challenges that families and providers face during transitions. I've spent the last 30 years working as a registered nurse, specializing in geriatrics, and I have dedicated my career to advocacy and care transition planning. This podcast brings together my experience and my passion for me to support you on your care journey. In my business and in my work at Care Advocates, we walk alongside families every step of the way. We meet with families, clients, and providers to create customized care plans. When someone is needing care, assistance with activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, mobility, transfers, we provide options such as residential care homes, assisted living communities, memory care communities. We advocate, guide, and educate throughout the entire process. Most importantly, we provide ongoing solutions and support. The care journey should never feel overwhelming. It should feel guided, supported, and understood. Welcome back to Navigating Elder Care. Today we are going to talk about assisted living. One of the first people that families meet when they're exploring assisted living is a sales director, the person who guides them through the tour, answers questions, and helps them decide if the community is a right fit. And today we're joined by Stacey Shaffer. She is sales director for Gemstone. We're here to talk about all things assisted living, common misconceptions that can make the process overwhelming. This conversation will give you insight into all things assisted living, what really matters, and what questions to ask. I had the pleasure of meeting Stacey about 6 years ago. She was new to San Antonio, and I'm not going to lie to you, I was very nervous because I was with a family that was very overwhelmed about assisted living, and I had never met Stacey. And after the tour, I was completely in love with this beautiful woman. She just has this grace and empathy and heart. She has this very special way of connecting with every family and meeting them where they are at in that vulnerable time. Stacey is amazing at working with families and being creative, resourceful, thinking outside the box, and just being a resource for them at that moment when they meet her and forever. She has families that still call her from Las Vegas. So Stacey, thank you for being here today, and we're excited to talk about assisted living. Stacey, thank you for being here with us today.
It is my pleasure. That was a lovely introduction, so thank you.
And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
So I came from hospitality, and I was in sales and marketing for Marriott for about 12 years. So my what I bring to senior living is really customer service, and I was always taught that no is not an option. So there always has to be a way to get to yes. So my background really is hospitality, and in senior living, I think it is vital that more people come with that attitude. How do we help and provide that customer service, not just at the beginning, but throughout the journey, and find the yes? How do you find the yes?
Stacey, let's talk about the human connection. You are often the first voice that families hear when they call you, when they're facing one of the toughest decisions in their life, or the first person that they see when they walk into the community. How do you build trust from the very first conversations?
Most important thing for me is really not about all the words that I'm going to say about the community, is really about listening to the family, asking questions. When you ask them a question, then they tell you about mom and where she's at, and really taking notes and having them completely heard before I start talking with all that we can do for them. So I think for me, it is truly listening to them and then respond with solutions.
What emotions do you most often sense from families when they reach out to you, and how do you meet them where they are in that moment?
Right. It's so emotional. And I feel like the number one is guilt. Family members, just daughters, sons, grandkids, whatever it is, you're feeling guilt of having to make a decision that is not home. And then the next thing that usually accompanies that is stress. Oh my gosh, how am I going to pull all this off? And will that loved one be upset with them? And then burnout, caregiver burnout, that is a real thing that takes a toll on those that are trying to provide this extended care. So I think it's a combination of those three things that you see almost always.
Let's go back a little bit. Give us the definition of assisted living for our listeners. What does that mean?
I would say 24-hour supervision. That does not need to be nursing staff, but it does need to be awake care staff so they can respond to the button if they're going to push a pendant, if it is a pull cord next to their bed or at the commode. Somebody that can respond to their activities of daily living in a quick time, 24 hours a day. If you are creating that at home, that's assisted living. And that's what we do at communities.
And it's hard because we know when I talk to families and they are at home and they tell me, well, I have a caregiver 4 hours a day, or my sister is here on the weekend. Yes. We know that mom is needing care in the morning, and she may need mobility, transfer assistance, incontinent care at 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 8 p.m., 2 a.m. So it is, you're right, it is assisted living at home.
It is. And I see so many families trying to pull this off. And I say to them, okay, first and foremost, give yourself a break. We have 3 different shifts that provide these cares. So we are tag teaming out. Whereas if you are trying to create this at home with family members or supplementing with care, it's very difficult to keep the care consistent and any kind of structure. So I say to that, give yourself a break. And really there's options out there other than killing yourself at home trying to create this environment.
Let's talk about common misconceptions about assisted living. Stacey, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that families have about assisted living as an option for care?
Thank you for asking this. I feel like assisted folks think it's a skilled nursing environment where it is that demographic that really thinks that it's going to be a medical environment that is going to smell and things that their mom was in, and they want to stay away from these environments. So I think that that's a big one. The second one I think is family think that the loved one will decline. And then cost is a biggie that comes in to play. How much is this going to cost? This is going to be out of our budget. So again, it's really being honest about what the care looks like and what we can provide within their budget, because again, we have options within Gemstone, not just a larger community, but maybe a smaller residential community is a good fit. So there's all sorts of options within the budget that they have.
One of the big misconceptions that I hear families address with me is that it's going to look like a nursing home or an institution or very hospital-like cold setting, and it's so opposite that.
It is.
And another big misconception I hear all the time is they call me, mom had a stroke, they're recommending a nursing home. Mom fell, she can no longer walk, they are recommending a nursing home. Mom cannot feed her, she needs assistance with feeding, with her meals. And that's, you can do all that in assisted living. You don't need to be in a nursing home. You can provide that care.
I do feel like it's an education that families need when they come to me, either on the phone or at a tour in person. It is about sharing what we can do and what is in the scope of assisted living. It is so much broader than what people think. And they can age in place. And if mom came in pretty independent, needing just med management, but now she has progressed and she needs us to help her feed her so she gets the calories that she needs. And now she needs help with all of the activities of daily living. That's something that we can do within our scope. There's no need to look for greater care unless someone that we could, as a group, we say, okay, now it's time. But again, this is 10% of the pie that needs to go somewhere greater.
Stacey, let's talk about behind the scenes, the heart of sales, right? Your title says sales director, but your role is so much more, and I know that. How do you see yourself as a guide, educator, and advocate? How do you see yourself in this role as sales director?
That's funny. It changes every day. I would say sometimes I'm a family therapist. Sometimes I am in sales. Sometimes I'm in interior designer. It depends on what the family needs. And again, I'm actively listening to them to understand what are they looking for? And am I the right fit? Mm-hmm. And then honesty with them. If, hey, Gemstone's not the right fit at the communities we have, then be a resource to find them the fit that is perfect for mom or dad. I may not be for everybody, but I certainly would like to have the information and to get them to that place. So I feel like that's sort of my job, is to direct, use the knowledge that I have and educate them to what is best for what they're telling me.
It's not a 9-to-5 job.
It isn't. And I feel like, too, for families, they need to know that every family is unique. There is not two families that I could say, oh, that was the exact same. Absolutely not. It is about customizing that move-in for that resident and for that family member. Some needs the red carpet rolled out and a big to-do, and some don't. They want to just know that we all know. They will just come and introduce ourselves in the room quietly because they're a loner. Okay, we can adapt to whatever their needs are. And it's kind of almost like being a chameleon to each of these families. I love it.
Stacey, when a family moves in, I know that you create a care plan. What does that look like, and how is it different for every resident?
The care plan really is about personalized service for mom or dad. What does that look like? When do they like to get up? Let's give them the independence to have a say. So they can make decisions for themselves and make sure that our teams know exactly what they're doing throughout the day so that we can achieve success for that resident, whatever that looks like. But we've got to have a plan so that we can execute on that plan and everybody's on the same page as far as when we're going to do these things, so that at the end of the day, when that resident puts their head down, everything has happened and our team feels successful, that family feels successful, and that resident goes to sleep happy.
And I've seen you guys work with families in a care plan. All the details that go into it, right? Mom has a hearing aid that has to be charged.
Yes.
Glasses have to be cleaned. Yes. This needs to be plugged. The right brace needs to go on. Dad likes a certain channel. If he can't reach the remote, you are accessing all of those channels for him.
Yes. Every detail is needing to be placed on that plan. Because if we don't, then we don't know and we can't achieve it. So it's so critical to even have the resident obvious feedback, but the family also to provide some insight so that we make sure we're kind of ticking all the boxes for that resident. And they'll be so happy if even the special details, as she likes to wear purple, that's her favorite color. Okay, great. Let's make sure that we have something purple on every single day. Mm-hmm. I had a resident, Mary Alice, and she is beautiful, and she had Lewy bodies, and the appropriate placement was assisted living when she moved in. And Mary Alice had a dog that she was dressed to the nine.
The dog was dressed?
Yes.
Okay.
As well as Mary Alice. Sometimes matched. They had jewels. But purple was her favorite color. And the simplest of our residents, or our team, to be able to provide a purple shirt, a purple pants, purple shoes, whatever that looked like, that family, when they came in, were so delighted when they saw, oh my gosh, look at what she's wearing today. We're like, look where her purple is. Those are those little things that make that family feel very comfortable that we love and are caring for their family member. That's the smallest of details.
You brought up another misconception, Lewy body dementia. That doesn't mean that client needed to go into memory care. At Gemstone, you can accommodate someone with dementia in assisted living.
100%. Again, about listening, finding out the details. Are they a safety risk to themselves? Are they a wanderer? No to all those questions. Then again, assisted living offers so much more than what families think. Oh, they have a dementia diagnosis, that's super scary, and now we have to look for a memory care. That is not necessarily the case.
How do you work with your care staff and leadership team to make sure that families' expectations match the residents' experience, their loved ones' experience? And you touched on that a little bit about how to create a care plan. How do you do that?
So I think it's about getting everybody's thoughts and expectations. If we talk to the resident, they lay out what they like, the times of day they like to do, all of the showering, the getting dressed, the going to have meals, and then partnering that with the family's insight, saying, okay, mom says she gets up at 8, but the reality is she gets up at 9. If you wake her up at 8, she's going to be super grouchy. So marrying the two and finding a solution. Maybe that's 8:45. So it's utilizing all the information from the people that have been with her and caring for her, and hearing what the residents is telling you, and then explaining that to the team.
Stacey, understanding change and transitions. And many families, we know that they wait until a crisis starts before they start looking for care options, for assisted living options. What advice do you have for families about when to start the conversation, specifically about assisted living?
The sooner. If you are doing, and we call them activities of daily living, if you are helping with dressing or medication management or showering or transportation or nutrition, if you are doing any of those things for your loved one, more than one, you're doing all of them, it is time to start looking. And I would say do it sooner than later, because you have choices and your loved one can participate in that decision. If you wait too long and it's a crisis, which you touched on earlier, and they're in the hospital, now it's about availability. It isn't about, you may have one place now. So it is about looking and investigating and learning what they like, what you like, and then pulling the trigger, because honestly, I think you'll be delighted versus what people think, which is, oh boy, here we go, and the decline is going to start. That's not what we see. It is proven time and time again. They thrive in that environment.
I encourage you to go look at assisted living. It doesn't mean you're going to move into Gemstone this
tomorrow.
week. Exactly. But you get a feel for what that is and what it looks like. So when a crisis does happen, you already know where you're going. You're planning ahead.
Yes.
Right?
You've got a cell phone like mine that you already know to call and say, Stacey, it happened.
What is your number, Stacey?
Oh, okay. 702-358-1168. That's how you get a hold of me. But to your point, absolutely.
And she is in San Antonio.
I am in San Antonio. But the reason I never changed my number for Las Vegas is because I also worked at a assisted living, memory care, and independent living. And I have too many families that I keep in touch with, and I'm not going to change my phone number.
How do you explain to families that choosing assisted living doesn't mean giving up independence?
When their care needs are met, then they have more time to enjoy independence, which is, what were the hobbies that they used to like to do? Was it art? Was it they like to go to the park? They like to participate in church? What is that? If the care needs are already handled and that is something that's structured into the day, then you can layer in all those fun things that you like to do. So, and it makes it so easy in a community because it's right down the hall. We don't need to get in the car and go to church. Church comes to you. Absolutely. Can you do that on Sundays? Sure. But what about Bible studies on Tuesdays and Thursdays? What about art class?
Music, happy hour.
All of it. Exercise. That's a biggie. Morning strolls, to go outside. These are all things that are so hard to achieve at home.
Yes.
You don't have enough manpower.
Or something very specific. When I was in your community last week, there were four caregivers setting up needlepoints, specifically birds for, I think her name was Sally. So her care needs are met, and you're creating this wonderful activity for her that she does by herself. She needlepoints, specifically birds. So that was beautiful to watch.
Right, because it's and I think for the resident, you got to take their perspective too, which is, oh my gosh, if you're worried if you are going to make it to the restroom in time, or you might fall, and so you don't do things. So you stop yourself from doing things for fear of something to happen. When you're in a community and you have already the oversight of care being there, it actually opens up independence for you. You can do it because they're just a push of a button away. So you can get to your room in time. You can go to art class. You can do all of these things. Whereas at home, you're like, well, I got to wait until my daughter shows up. No, we don't need to do that at our community.
What should families be paying attention to during a tour of your community or any community that they might overlook?
most important, how are the residents looking? Do they look cared for? Do they look happy? I would stop and ask them how they like the community. I think that's a great question. Most seniors don't really have a filter, and they're happy to tell you how that day's going, and they're happy to tell you about the food.
None of them have a filter, Stacey.
I know. So you want to know about the food? Go ahead and ask them about the food. Ask them if they're entertained. I think that that's the best way to find out, get feedback, and then also be aware of the staff. How do they look? Are they saying hello when you walk in? Do they have a smile? Those are important observations to just be aware of when you're touring the community. Cleanliness. If it is clean on a day that is just an average Tuesday or a Sunday, that's good news for you. Then that's going to be 7 days a week. It's going to be clean. These are things. Look at the things that you would look at a house that you were going to buy. Is it clean? Does the windows? All these things. These are important at choosing the next home for your loved one.
Yeah. When working with placement and helping families find a care for their loved ones, they're focused on what they want, on what they need. They're looking at the chandelier, the beautiful foyer, the entrance, all the amenities, and all that is important in independent living. And it's important for me to meet their psychological and their emotional well-being. But as a registered nurse, working with families that need assistance, care, what I always say is focus on the care, and that is what assisted living, that's what Gemstone brings.
Yeah,
is care.
100%. You need to put care at the forefront of your search, because the aesthetics and the chandeliers, they serve a purpose, absolutely, and they're certainly beautiful. However, at the end of the day, as mom, dad progress, the most important thing is that they are cared for and all of those needs are met, because that's when you lay your head down at night, that's how you feel peace. So I would say really concentrate on care, not so much the aesthetics and the room size and square footage. I hear that a lot. How on earth are we going to scale down? I've got to be honest, I always say to people, how much space are they actually living in? And they usually tell me the bedroom and a recliner.
Stacey, you do a great job at guiding families with compassion, at connecting with them and meeting them where they are at in this difficult journey. Guilt is a powerful emotion in this process. How do you help families move from guilt into peace of mind?
I really do think it all goes back to, at the very beginning, the listening skills, all the information that I learn, then they decide to choose Gemstone. It's about communicating everything that I have learned to my team so that they are fully aware of the expectations. So when they walk in that door and move in, we are all on the same page.
Stacey, you have seen so many residents flourish once they move in. What is that one story, one moment that reminds you of why you love what you do in assisted living?
What comes to mind is Eddie and the family that I worked with for probably 60 days. And Eddie was a retired, successful financial planner. And he had 2 strokes living at home. And the family was trying desperately to keep him there. And guilt, stress, all of it, that they had personal care in the house to try to achieve this. And Eddie, we toured, and Eddie had the biggest smile, was the sweetest man. And he lit up a room. Eddie had goals. He was in a wheelchair and he wanted to walk again. He wanted to be able to gain back independence. And I will tell you that Eddie was going so fast one day on his wheelchair. I said, Eddie, you have got to slow down. And he said, nope, I'm Fast Eddie. And from that day forward, we got him a name tag, and it says Fast Eddie to this day. And this gentleman that I would call just a gem, we created an event around him, the dating game, that old game show, the dating game, featuring Eddie and 3 lovely bachelorettes. And we managed to find Eddie love.
I love Eddie because he wears my lanyard every day. So, Stacey, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights about assisted living, specifically with Gemstone. If our listeners want to reach out to you, can you give us your number again?
Yes. I always give my cell phone. So it's 702-358-1168, and I'm Stacey Shaffer. So you can text me and call me. I'm happy to be a resource. If we can't help, I'll find you someone who can.
And she's available every day. Thank you so much for joining me on Navigating Elder Care, where we bring guidance and answers for every step of the elder care journey. If you are a family member, hospital case manager, or healthcare provider, and you know someone facing a change in health or planning for future care needs, Care Advocates is here to help you find the right care at the right time, whether it is assisted living with Stacey Shaffer, memory care, bringing resources, community resources into your home. Our commitment is simple: care, compassion, lifetime support. For a free consultation, call me at 210-669-2222. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share this podcast. And visit me at advocatern.com for helpful resources. You can also listen to past episodes on YouTube or listen on your favorite podcast application. You can also listen to us here every Sunday at 8:30 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. I am Laura Daniels, and this has been Navigating Elder Care, helping you find the right care at the right time for the people that matter the most. I thank you for listening, and I thank Stacey for being here today.
My pleasure.
This has been Navigating Elder Care with Laura Daniels, providing guidance and answers for every step of the elder care journey. For a free consultation, call 210-669-2222 or email Laura at advocatern.com. Catch every episode on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, YouTube, your favorite podcast app, or at advocatern.com.